rooms, Portland. We, the aperture peg, watch light lay down when we've found, in map or cortex, shelter, eyes in the wood, time between times, there is something to deflect. Where the fibers are worn thin or broken, the overexposed photo of a blown-out beach, a barely visible brunette figure. When I think about it more, I exist less. How I fall into the crevice, how I hide, how the nightshades lift him away with the dark, how I am not more or less numeric. Lying still, afraid I might be heard, all the mysteries of collective space return like dark water. Static violence invests a quiet wine. I gather the motionless ship in my mind. I permute the wall chart of events. I dredge the perimeter with open hand. If will has the capacity to reroute, if I believe that he only exists as a link making the nebulous, if there was never anyone else here, the attic, again, rung of its voices. Morning that elucidates, recalcifies the sliding joints, resets the scene. A cracked nose from the clumsy change, a haze-like plaster on the windows. In what ways is the scenery unchanged underneath the distortion, the transcription? No matter where in the diagram, we claim responsibility, voice. I am responsible for each closed eye, the act of rewriting, blotting the saturated moan. What tincture drips from the ceiling? What wire rusts the teeth? Muteness, like a swaying telephone wire, a crown of fog, the small movement of drapery. I can visualize its patchiness, the moment it decides to grip or release, take for, view as, harbor, obligate, how we buttress the unused verbs. Bare rafters carving a dome in the air like bones beneath tile. Whether outside or inside, along the cross-cutting axis that pins the house in place, no one else is. Whatever litter of seasons, stalk of weed, crass loiter of fennel, I have liquefied his print, smudge on the door, out of place charm by the lock, flicked, succulent. The external can align, even under degrees of uncertainty. If this is all I have to say to myself, I can say it over and over. I can say it in dream. I can say it in view of an opposite truth. I can create the composite. Whatever message the street triangulates, whatever the closed fist reveals, can be negated by a dual creation, can be then ignored. Part 2, the new pronoun. Do I regard her as another self, from which the gusts originate, where the knuckle meets the hall, a blip in the sororal terrace, twin staircase, inverted spine? Some dislike the feel of talking, the rub of voice on the air, real eruption, exacted infinite movement of waves forward against the walls, receding back to the ear. She was the unlikeliest voice because of that rub. She kept me in her throat. She locked the doors of a room and placed a sheet over her head. What needs translating? The distance traveled between sounds, the selfhood of ceiling, then room. Not everything needs to be touched. Say there are too many hands in a voice. Touching cannot coax it. Hands in the room, rooms in the room, see in the hands of the words that I am a wave. As if the buzzing silenced, and she could be put away, closed up behind doors, and I could leave the house. If the pronoun could shift a second time, if we are wrapped up against ourselves, walking through the same pattern of steps, enabling the blocked chimney. If I allowed the airway to build up with soot, if I failed to scrape away the crust, sediment body. Night sounds rise through the filter. The anagram sleeps, shelter marked less by reaching toward the sky than by turning upon itself. A staircase to bridge two cluttered platforms, umbilical between ghosts. Objects that belong to the air, a substance which does not divide, a jittering wall fixture, leaked water by the stove. How many substitutions can be made? How many glances to name? The spiral staircase, our gravelly tail. From therein, the body holds the shape of the structure. Even once the shell is removed, corners pushed down into rough cast seams, to emerge, takes shape of a congealed noun, to become known in a skein of hair, to derive methods of seclusion, become one in the imaginary house, to create in the body an assemblage of shells, to be one in the clutter of dream. Such contact with brief places, partial life, inverts the spine where the liquid is deep set. Porcelain stave, dust in the shell. Of substructure. Lit from underneath, where the constitution is new and unerring. Each amulet, the sum of another body, another alphabet, another ring of attached voices. Bodiless click in the next room, chains dragging from an outside truck. Photograph of a well-known stranger in a corner of personal space. Elements of intimacy next to the quick uncanny. How easy to apportion the scabbed from the smooth, to claim foreign our own inflection, then make intimate the impossible. Closed ceiling vent, unguarded turret, gleam of skin in the sun, a cluster of cellars for roots.